All right, class, I'm back, and we're going to keep talking about nuclear bombs and their destructive capabilities. This was an activity that if we were in class, we would do together. You can do it. It's the website's right there, nuclearsecrecy.com/nukemap. And I just don't want to do it now during a pandemic because, I mean, we used to have the game of like who can bomb the city and kill the most people, which in a normal time, in peacetime, when everything's going nice, it's kind of fun to play, but I just don't really feel like we should be doing that right now. If you want to check it out, absolutely go for it. But it gives you, you can kind of compare. Oops. Trying to get this iPad pen out. Little Boy and Fat Man, remember these were the atomic bombs dropped on Japan? If you, let's say nuke an area and look at what happens, and then go to the later ones, so the first hydrogen bomb. Tsar Bomba, which is the largest Soviet bomb. I think it's the most powerful hydrogen bomb in the world. And then Castle Bravo, which is another American one. Okay. But again, this is optional. There is, and again, now here's another thing which I've been thinking I cannot figure out a way to do this virtually, not in person. So I'll just explain to you this really fun game that we would have played. If anyone can think of a way to do it like on Zoom, maybe. I don't know. But I'm open to it because it is kind of cool. But this is a very key term. You should all underline or highlight or write this down somewhere. Mutually assured destruction. And so a deterrent is something that stops you from doing something. So example I always give is, for those of you that drive, whenever you see a cop on the side of the road, you're like, oh boy, okay, hope I'm not speeding. Let me just, and if I am, let me slow down. And knowing the fact that just knowing that cops are out there in random places looking for people speeding deters you from going like 80 miles an hour. Also, 80 miles an hour is not safe. So that should deter you also. But that's what a deterrent is. It's something that exists that stops you from doing something. So mutually assured destruction was the deterrent that pretty much saved the world from nuclear attacks. Now, in the 60s, there's something called the Cuban Missile Crisis. We come within like an hour of launching of all-out nuclear war between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. A lot of it came down to secret communications and then one Russian submarine operator who refused an order. I think he was later executed when he went back, but by him not attacking a United States Navy ship in this Russian submarine, he prevented an all-out war from starting. There's another case. I think nuclear history is fascinating, so I'm just going to give you a lot of tangents here. There's another case where nuclear detection systems were just being put into place so that if, surprise, surprise, 20 Soviet nukes are headed our way, we would at least have some advance notice and be able to fire back and destroy the world. At one point, there was one station, I think it was up in Colorado or something, where the technology was kind of new, and it looked like on the screen Russia had just launched 20 nuclear bombs, 20 hydrogen bombs, which would have wiped out the US. And the guy in charge, and this was at 2 a.m. or something weird, the guy in charge of the machine had to decide whether to report this or not. There was an uneasy feeling that he had. Anyway, it turned out later it was something like a flock of geese that flew close to the thing. But the world came very close so many times to total destruction. And I may have mentioned this when we talked. No, I don't think I have before. Albert Einstein has a famous quote. He said, World War III, if that ever happened, would have been fought with nuclear bombs. And he said, I don't know. Well, Mr. Bliss, come prepared with the quote. Something along the lines of, if we ever have a World War III, all I can tell you is that the next war will be fought with sticks and stones. Meaning that nuclear annihilation would end civilization as we know it, end everything, and people would be going back to pre-agricultural, like very old ways of life. It would be like an apocalypse, and if there was another war, the only weapons available would be sticks and stones, because even learning how to make a sword would be something that people had to figure out all over again. So in this game, what we would do is have 2 volunteers per round, and one was an American, one was a Soviet communist, and let's say there's some incident, and you would have a note card, and actually I think there's more directions here. Yeah, you'd have a note card, and on it you'd have to write what you choose. You're going to launch the nuclear bomb and destroy your opponent, or decide not to launch. Hopefully kind of work out some peace. But you cannot talk or consult or give any signal to your partner in any way. And here's how the game worked. If nobody launched, people would get 2 quiz points, right? So you save the world. If one launches and the other did not, winner gets 8 quiz points, complete control of the world. Loser gets nothing and dies a horrible death while her civilization crumbles around her. So that kind of makes you want to launch to get the points. But if both sides launch, there are no quiz points awarded to anyone, since you killed each other and deserve a heaping dose of shame for ending the world. Also, you just killed everyone in the room, all innocent people, so congratulations. You would go down in history as the worst person to ever live, except there is no history anymore because everyone is dead and monkeys can't write. So anyway, these bombs are so powerful that if an all-out nuclear war had ever broken out between the Soviet Union and the United States, it would have ended everything, and we'd be living in huts probably. The survivors would live in huts and, have to just hunter-gatherer type of lifestyle. And the cities would all be in ruins, like in all these, apocalyptic movies and stuff that are out there. Knowing that was really the only thing that prevented all-out nuclear warfare from happening, because, again, a couple times it came pretty close. But both the Soviets and the Americans knew, we can threaten each other with this stuff, but if we ever launch them, that's it. Okay, I think I've talked enough for today. We're going to get into the second Red Scare for our next class. And remember, the first Red Scare was after World War I. The second Red Scare happens just right after World War II. And they're both about communism. That's where you get the red thing from. But we'll get into that next week, I think. Unless I make another video today, but I think we might run out of time. So have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you all on Monday.